Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. This is the question and answer session. We put up on Twitter. You guys have questions, send them in to us each week, and we'll answer them here with our question and answer video. Let's get things started. This one comes from Brock Landers 41. And guys, Brock wants to know, what are your feelings on parlays? Do you ever dabble in them? And I'll start with you, Preston.
Dabble is a good word because I think every degenerate gambler dabbles in parlays. The only times I rarely will bet like a 1x or a 3%, 1 unit, we'll call it, play on a parlay is in college football on 2 teams that are laying 6 or 7 where it ends up being about a pick. And that's the few times that I've done it, and maybe it's like once a week at the most that I'll do that. Otherwise, I don't actually bet them, especially not in baseball. That's going to be the sport everyone's watching now coming up for the next few months. I definitely would advise not betting parlays in baseball. I just think if there are teams that are laying 6 or 7 that I have more like 8 or 9, and I don't want to lay the points for whatever reason when it comes down to it for football, then I've kind of gone the money line parlay route with 2 teams a few times a year. But other than that, I generally stay away.
Right.
Excuse me.
I do want to point out one of the guys that's been on our show over at Jerry's Nugget has the best parlay odds out there.
Yes.
Great parlay limit. So if you're ever at Jerry's Nugget, first off, I'm sorry, but
I could go there later today.
Not in the greatest neighborhood, but he's got a great sports book, and the food there's tremendous, by the way.
Great bakery.
Great bakery.
Prime rib.
Yeah, great pizza. Okay, I like Jerry's Nugget. What can I say? But I'll play correlated parlays when it's the same thing. If the favorite I think is going to score a lot of points, let's say I have Baylor, and I think Baylor's going to score a lot of points, I may play the over in that same game if I think Baylor defensively won't be able to have as much success. So it'll be correlated parlays. Usually you get a high price or a high favorite in the over, low, underdog. If you like the underdog in the game, play the under.
Books don't like correlated parlays.
No, they don't, which is why I rarely play them and I rarely can get them in.
Curious, you said that you never will play a baseball parlay. So I'm the other way. If I dabble in it, I don't like parlays, period, but if I'll dabble in a parlay, I'm more apt to dabble in baseball because, if I find myself that I got a night that I've got 2 or 3 dogs that I like, it's just too tempting not to get those dogs in a parlay, and get in because you're getting true odds on your parlay.
Yeah, on the flip side for dogs, I think most people when they think parlays are thinking favorites like, oh, you like so and so minus 150 and Kershaw's minus 310, so I'll just throw them together. And Kershaw loses that game, whatever it is, 25% of the time, and the other side is just barely over 50-50. So it's tough to really for dogs a plus 140 and a plus 130. Something like that can add up. I've never actually tried it. I'm fine with going 1-1 and taking the profit personally. So I've never actually done it when it comes to dogs, but it definitely can pay off if you hit it.
My problem with it, and you mentioned the Kershaw minus 310, is people, if you don't like it well enough to play it straight, why do you play it on a parlay? There's no advantage in doing something like that. You see that in boxing all the time. People will say, yeah, he's a 9-1 favorite, but I'm not laying 9-1, so I'll put him in a parlay with somebody else. Well, in reality, you're laying 9-1. You're still doing the same thing. So make sure you like what you're doing here.
All right, let's go to the next one. Cooney Tony asked us to ask the boys, what stats do you guys like to look at with handicapping baseball? I'll throw this one to Brian first because you like to look at a lot of sabermetric stuff, I know. And anything, do you want to give a tip or where do you like to look at the stats at?
I just like to look at advanced stats that most people don't look at. I did have a play against Felix Hernandez tonight, and he gets hurt, so I don't have a play. But his stats, and I've talked about this before, his traditional stats are really good. His advanced stats are not so good. So you're able to get value on them, and that's one of the things I take a look at.
Yeah, the quick answer, I know we're running short on this video, so I'll be abrupt, and you can tweet at me if you have a further question. Use all of them. I know a lot of people disregard ERA because it's old school, which is true. You need to use all the advanced ones now, but look at everything. Don't just pick a few stats and then use that to handicap baseball games. You need to take everything into consideration. That's part of the formula to really choose a winner.
There's no magical stat. You just got to put everything together.
All right. Bob Murray would like to know what percentage of your bankroll are you willing to risk daily, and does it change by season?
I can answer this quickly. We've done a video in the past. You can look for it. I can try to find the link for him later. But I actually have a separate bankroll for each sport, for each league. So like my college football betting, I'll be betting a lot more than I would for baseball. That's just my personal bankroll is growing quicker in that sport. So for me, it is all dependent on that. And then going to his question a step further, how much am I willing to risk on a day? People know I'm a very, very high volume guy. I can have 20 plays on a Saturday. And so I'm not really too concerned. If I like 20 plays on one day or 20 plays over the course of a month, it's the same amount of plays. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it is a little bit stressful that you're risking that much at one time, potentially. But ultimately, in long term, in a vacuum, whatever you want to call it, 20 plays is 20 plays. And if you think you have an edge in all 20 plays, then bet all 20 plays. So I wouldn't really stress how much per day to have risked. More so just follow your bankroll management as a whole, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. The single day thing means nothing to me. Right. There's a certain day you're going to like a lot of games, other days you won't like anything. So I'll have, as you pointed out for Saturdays, I'll have 60% of my bankroll tied up on the card that day. It doesn't matter to me if it's in one day or if it's in a week.
It's the nature of the beast for football. You don't have any choice. The games are all played on one day.
When the games are played.
Especially when Sunday's the next day, too, and you might have 4 or 5 NFL plays.
On the flip side to that, that's why daily sports, I think, for the bettors that don't have it, people think, oh, I don't have as big of a bankroll, so playing every day scares me. No, that should actually be better because you're able to get more money into play over a period of time, over the 7 days, where what you would get in maybe one day.
Like a massive swing in a weekend can either ruin your month or be great. So
it's better variance for you. Again, going back to if you feel you have an edge, you're going to get more plays in over a daily sport spread out over 7 days than that one clump on a Saturday.
The real important thing is there's not overbetting. Don't bet too much of your bankroll in any single game.
All right, last question. We'll make this one quick because we did go long. Matt Wyatt wants to know, what's your process for breaking down games, and how do you determine what your conviction level is? So I think the question being is, how do we determine what's a 3, what's a 4, or what's a 5, on your rating as well?
Yeah, we'll have to do a separate documentary on what goes into capping a game. Everything. That's a long answer. But the short one for him, as far as not predicting, but perceiving your edge. If I think I have a 4 or 5 point edge in a football game, and it crosses 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, that might only be a 3% play for me. If it's crossing 3 and 7 down low, where there's two big key numbers, and the spot's good, then that'll be a double unit play or a 5%er or whatever. So there's a lot that goes into it, but you ultimately need to see mathematically what your edge is, look at the situational spot, and then kind of assess from there. But there's definitely a formula to that, and we'll break it down on another video down the road.
I use power ratings, and if my power ratings are off, I take a look at. We've talked. Basically, it's a combination. I take a look at the sharper books. If the sharper books are leaning towards my number, then that might be a bigger play. If my number they're going against my number, it might be a smaller play.
With me, the short of it is I have so many different situational things. If I have certain situations that are working well that particular season, because we all know everything doesn't work every year, but things that are working well that year, that's going to be, when those ones are lining up, that's going to be your comfort zone. All right, great questions this week, guys, and keep those coming into us. We love it. We'll try to get them, and if we keep getting more questions, we'll do 2 separate videos instead of one long one with the questions. So send those into us each week on Twitter. And don't forget, guys, each and every Tuesday at WagerTalk, it's $2 Tuesday. We feature one capper and offer his best bet for just $2. It's a great way to introduce yourself to a new capper or just introduce yourself to the site. Check it out each and every Tuesday, $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk. We'll be back with more at WagerTalk.com.